are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Back to I Am Refocused Radio once again. We are here today, and just like any other time, we have another amazing guest on the show. Today, man, we are going to learn about a lot. Master of focus, helping leaders stop chasing everything. I mean, aren't we all guilty of trying to do everything and anything to be successful? Well, we have a special guest, Chad Bareither. He's the founder and principal consultant of Bareither Group Consulting, and man, he has a story for y'all. So I just want to say, first of all, you have a resume. It's like every show I have to keep doing this disclaimer. It'll take me 20 minutes just to go through every detail of what you accomplished in life. So I just want to cut to the chase and say, welcome to the show. Thanks for clearing your calendar, and how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well, and thank you for having me on the show. Happy to make time for this.
Yes, sir. I'll kind of give a little fast intro of you. You have a amazing game changer book that people need to go get a copy of. It's book is Improve Less, the Focus and Align Framework for Sustainable Continuous Improvement. You can get it right now. It's available on Amazon, anywhere you get a book or nowadays. But he also has a website, bareithergroup.com. Check out all of his information and resources. But first, I just want to start with, you spend over 20 years in manufacturing, watching teams spin their wheels, trying to improve everything. Like I said in the intro, we're guilty of doing that. I mean, I raised my hand first. We all try to stay busy, but staying busy is not always quality. What exactly drives this whole improve less, and what does that mean for our audience?
Yeah, so 2 decades now of doing this in some large corporations and some smaller companies as well. And it almost doesn't matter. It's like our eyes are bigger than our stomachs sometimes, and say there's all these things we want to go after. And what I've noticed when you're talking with the leaders is usually one of two things, and I try to simplify things, right? So there's usually one of two angles we're going. Is like, we want to try to do everything, which means we're not really focused, or we know what we want to do, but we're not exactly sure how to do it. So we're going to do a bunch of stuff to make sure we get there. And what we have found, so the company's 7 years old this October, working with over a dozen different clients in different industries, is that if we can actually take that time up front and like be thoughtful about where we're going to be spending our resources, our time, our burning calories, we end up getting more on the back end. And it sounds counterintuitive, right? But improve less, do less stuff, but don't just be busy, be productive.
When you focus on the path, if I can put it that way, it takes time to get better. It's not like we turn the light switch and all of a sudden all the answers just come out like rainbows and sunshine. No, it's like that's when the real deal happens. Like we get tested, like they would say, battle tested. And I had a former Navy SEAL talk about being nimble, having systems, being clear. You talk about clarity. What does it take to kind of undo the way of what we're used to doing and implementing new systems and new pathways to get better results?
Yeah, it takes a test, an experiment. And so I agree with you. It takes time, but we don't have to wait to see results. And what I mean by that is not to be impatient. It's just to shorten our planning horizon. So I had this conversation again with another potential client of when you look at a year, a lot of organizations, just because it's always been done that way or their budget runs a year, they run like a strategic planning session on a 1 year or a 3 year cycle. And I'm not saying we don't need a long-term vision for the company, but what I am saying, when it's a year, we feel like it's a lot of time, so we stuff a lot of things to do in that. Like, what if we shorten our planning horizon and say, how far can we move in 90 days? And here's why that's important. One, we learn very quickly how much we can actually metabolize, like how much change, how many improvements we can actually do. And we learn what works and doesn't work faster. So accelerating that speed, again, doesn't mean we're doing more stuff. We're doing less at one time. And it's like, okay, the answer isn't always no, it's just not yet. Let's get our priorities down. Let's make progress over the next 90 days, learn from that, and then iterate. So while, yes, transformation takes time, the learning doesn't have to.
Once again, let's not refocus radio, talking to our guest, Chad Bareither. And I want to talk about your process of launching your group, the Bareither Group Consulting, and what is the difference between yours and others, if I can put it in that way, because we, hear a lot of people doing consulting work, but what makes you customize it and make it special for your clients?
Yeah, so I'm going to take your what sounded like a simple question to start, what prompted me to launch it, and then what makes us different. So the prompt for us to launch was, we'll call it a happy accident, I'm not sure, is in my line. I definitely thought there's a time in the future where that would be fun, right, to consult. I'm a learner by nature. I like new challenges. And saying, how can I bring this process-based thinking into more of a consulting delivery where I'm helping a lot of different companies, keeping myself engaged. I was still working a corporate job. Friend of a friend asked me for a little bit of this type of help on the side. For the first 2 years of the business, it was a side hustle. It was like, I'll make a little bit of money here, money there. It grew faster than I expected, I think largely because of how we deliver. And so, how did we get to where we are now? Now we have 5 deployment leads, an admin. I also have a social media specialist. And so we've grown it over a certain number of years because we deliver a little bit differently. We don't end our conversations in the boardroom or in the conference room with a polished slide deck. We help that team narrow down their focus to improve less. And then as soon as we have clarity, we go right to the front line and we start implementing. So high touch engagements means we're developing the people. We're not just giving the answers and say, good luck. We're locking elbows with the front line and saying, we've got the clear path, that true north from your leadership. Now we're going to parachute down into the jungle and figure out how to get there together.
That's a great image. That works for me. Because a lot of times you hear, consultants float out there and they just kind of do their little diagnosis and send the invoice and go on with their lives. That's great to know that you're in there in the trenches to be with the actual point A. It might be so many points down the line because it's not a straight, perfect line. It's going to be so maybe bumps in the road. How do you deal with that though? When you work with clients and you try to paint that picture that, hey, when we do this, it's not like you're going to be fixed in 24 hours. This is actually a process that we have to take and attack.
Yeah. So I think a lot of that's on our shoulders, right? To deliver that within the group, but it's also aligning with leadership up front that we're not just here for cost savings. We're not just here for on-time delivery. So our engagements are anchored in something the client can't accomplish. As a consultant, I see myself largely, I only provide one of two things, capability or capacity. So we're working with clients who say, I don't know what to do. I need help, right? Or I know what to do. I just don't have enough help to get where I want to go, right? That's kind of oversimplifying, but why do you contract out the work is either I can do something you can't do, or I have the capacity to do it on a short-term basis. So when we engage, it's anchored around getting you results that you want, right? So the transformation, it's this journey, from the head to the heart, right? So a lot of the tools, the techniques, the methods that we use that might be different than, we'll say, conventional business thinking. When we apply methods like lean manufacturing, Six Sigma problem solving, is that it's first some of these tools, concepts people haven't heard of. So it goes from unaware to aware, right? Then I have to go from awareness to understanding. But understanding, Shemaya, is still up here, right? Is how do we get them from understand to believe and even trust in this different way of running the business? It's only through them seeing the results. I can't just tell them to go do it, train them in a conference room, right, with games and stuff and have a good time. And we do have a good time. But the transition from training to actually application, that's what makes us different, is we're on the floor with you, making the implementations. And when you see a veteran in an organization that's worked somewhere forever is like, we're finally changing some of the things that I've been complaining about for 10 years. Like, that's impactful. That makes their journey. And like, now they believe they have a voice. They believe that this is going to be different this time. And middle management, senior leadership, it's tied back to the results. You wanted X many dollars in cost savings. You wanted X many days in lead time reduction. You wanted X many percentage points of quality improvement. We get those results. We show the front line how it makes their lives easier. Right now, you're actually making this transformation, which as a collective company is still an individual transformation. I need to think differently about the business when I come in on Monday. And that only happens if I trust this new system.
Once again, listening on Refocus Radio and watching us online, talking to our special guest today, Chad Bareither. He is the founder and principal consultant of the Bareither Group Consulting. Go to his website. It's super easy. You guessed it, bareithergroup.com. When you think about daily management, that is something, it's kind of normal, right? Every normal person who's working in corporate or a business understands that is just something that comes with the territory. That's just something we have to do. We don't have to be taught that, right? But it's how we do it. Walk us through what that really looks like when you're working with your clients and discovering that the way to doing that practice on a daily basis, that matters. It's not if you know to do it, it's how you implement it.
Well, and it's extremely intuitive, right? Sports analogy, you would never play the entire game without a scoreboard and then just shrug your shoulders at the end and say, who won? We would never do that. So it's very intuitive. However, and I'll talk about one specific engagement I did over in Detroit, Michigan, is many times frontline leadership don't even agree on what makes it a good day. So what does winning look like to you? What does winning look like to me? We first have to get focused and aligned. That comes from the title of the book, right? We need to get, what should we be paying attention to on a daily basis to decide if we win or lose? And getting the team, not from Chad telling them, these are the 7 metrics you need to measure, is like sitting down, working through it, because people have to do this, right? People have to deliver the daily business, and saying, what's important to you when you go home at night, right? I'm safe. Great. No safety incidents, no near misses, right? No hazards. Great. That's one way we can tell we had a good day. What else? We did everything right. So no client complaints, whatever. We had a quality product that went out the door, product, service, etc. We got everything we needed done on time. Okay, no overtime or on-time delivery, however we want to measure that. But we work with the team and say, how would you measure that? And in a lot of cases, we're not even measuring it. So to your earlier point is like, we should be doing it. You're right. We should. It's surprising how many businesses don't have visibility of how we're doing today. So how do I expect you to be engaged with your work if it just feels like I'm on a treadmill of like churning out widgets or, processing documents? And it's like, I wait till the end of the year for my cost of living increase. Like, daily management means involving the front line in managing the work themselves. I shouldn't have to wait a week, a month for some corporate level key performance indicator to go red for my manager to come yell at us or change the process. Everyone wants to win. Nobody wants to come to work and do a bad job. So let's treat them like adults, have respect for those people, and give them a platform that says, this is our scoreboard. I own that scoreboard. Right? I'm going to work hard because I'm part of this team to win tomorrow. And when we don't, now we're giving them a vehicle to say, if we didn't win, why not? What do we need to change? Where do we need better processes, better tools, better training to help you win, rather than relying on the people who don't do the work to make those decisions?
And to your point, your book does just what you're talking about. It cuts the fluff because anybody can wait until the light to turn red and say, you know what, I might just kind of hit the gas and see if I can make it. That's very risky. One sooner or later, it's not going to work well for you. Having that kind of mindset that I'm just going to skate by and hopefully I'll make it. That's never good. I love what you said earlier about people don't look at the scoreboard and see the results and say, what's the point of sweating, during the game? what's the point of teamwork? You know, so I'm glad you pointed that out, because it's easy to get comfortable. And I think just basically what we're talking about, this kind of forces people to carry ownership. You know, you have to own it. You know, where you at on the map, just own it. I mean, it's okay to say, you know what, all right, man, this is terrible. But it's not okay to be delusional and lie to yourself and say, what's the big deal? Well, hello, it's probably a very big deal if you are willing to do anything better versus continuously getting worse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're right. And it's not always working harder, right? It's working smarter in a lot of cases, whatever that may mean in your business. And we're not saying we get the results up and we say, well, you didn't work hard enough. But we do have to have a mindset where it says we have a healthy dissatisfaction with the status quo. Meaning, like, whatever, if you spin out of sports analogies and go to music, foreign language, anything that you are doing, business is no different. We're building muscle memory. We're developing myelin, right? That neural system that triggers the muscles to execute correctly. And like, when we don't get the results we want, we have to do something different. One of the most profound quotes I had from a coworker, because I don't even know who to attribute to, was like, nothing changes if we don't change something.
Yeah.
You're right. Just expecting people to come in the next day and just work harder to hit a goal is like, well, if we want different results, something has to change. Process, technology, tools, training, so that we can deliver those type of results. But it doesn't have to be all at once, right? Incremental improvements add up significantly. But if we're too busy grinding in the business and not asking people for their ideas to improve, and we don't really know on a day-to-day basis if we're winning or losing, it's kind of hard to want to be engaged in changing the process.
Leadership today can sometimes feel noisier than ever. And when you're working with your clients, how do you help them identify the noise? I mean, companies always look at data to measure themselves, where they are, where they want to be in the future. How do you help them kind of navigate the swamp, if you will? Like, man.
So I love this shorter planning horizon to get like laser focus on something. And so we're not saying nothing else is important, but we are saying this is what we're focusing on right now. And if we can just stay focused on that for 90 days, are there a ton of other things in the business that we could be working on? Yes. But collectively, when you get the leadership team to stack hands on an idea and say, for the next 90 days, this is top priority. And then you reflect as a team and say, how did it go? Versus leaving every individual department head, or, you know, depending upon the size of the company, department head or manager, to decide what they think is the most important thing to do. It's like, then you have conflicting changes or conflicting quote unquote improvements, because I made my work better, but now Shemaya's gotten more work. Or I changed my process so I can get it done faster, but now it creates a defect you have to deal with. Yeah. And so how do we cut through the noise is like, again, incrementally at a time, and say, we're going to focus on these things for the next 90 days. And then you reflect on that, and either you maintain focus or you pivot. This is the other thing, being willing to be wrong. That humility doesn't exist in a lot of leadership today either, where, you know, whether it's developed culturally, you know, and we're both US based, so maybe I'm speaking more to Western style leadership of this expectation that the leader has all the answers, or is, you know, this all-knowing cleric and just makes brilliant business decisions. Man, people learn by making mistakes. There's no way that CEO, that president, that plant manager, whatever, never made a mistake. So we have to be willing to own those mistakes and give our people some space to make mistakes, which means, kind of circling all the way back to your question, how do you cut through the noise? Staying focused so that we can find those opportunities to coach, staying focused so that we can find those opportunities to catch people doing something right, so that we can celebrate something. Or guess what? All of that stuff always gets washed out in the noise as well.
And that's, if you're watching us on YouTube, that's why I was smiling, because, I mean, yeah, if you're not focused, and it's not a cliche, even though it might sound cliche, it's like life just gets harder. I mean, life is already hard, but it gets harder when you're not focused. Like, it's like if you try to, like I said earlier, if you try to risk it and run through the red light, I'm just going to do it, like shrug it off. That's not going to help you. If you're in the game, that I love that analogy. You don't look at the scoreboard and shrug it off. No. That's why you're playing. That's why you're striving to be the best you can be. That's why we are trying to live this life. We want to try to live the best life possible. Does that mean material things? No. It could be legacy. It can be just, I want to leave. I heard someone say it this way. I want to leave the place better than when I first came. So by the time I'm done, I hope that it'll be a better place because I was there, not worse. Because if it's worse, then man, what are you doing? You're doing something very wrong.
Yeah. Well, and scale, growth, whatever you want to look at, success doesn't have to mean the same thing to every leader that takes this method on, right? I'm having a conversation next week. Just met a guy through LinkedIn, and he's in the St. Louis area, and he's starting up his own CNC machine shop in his garage. One machine, one operator, him, right? And he's just kind of putting stuff out there about like, just a little bit, don't know what to focus on next. And that's like my trigger word. So I'm like, dude, we should talk. And I'm not trying to get work with him. He can't afford a consultant. That's fine. I'm just like, I am passionate about helping people clarify their vision and mission so they can move forward like intentionally, not like half-heartedly, right? Dipping your toes in the water. I'm going to invest in these 5 things. We talked earlier about how many platforms you're on. 1, why? Because I'm focused. It's awesome. How do we give business leaders that level of confidence where they can operate focused and they're like, I know it's going to work, because they're just trying to create margin in their lives. They're just trying to, contribute to society, maybe ultimately be an employer in the area. Like, not everyone's dream isn't just more money. So like, how do we give people the focus and the clarity of whatever their goal is in business? That's what we're all about.
You spend enough time on YouTube, or if you're a business owner, you spend more time in the shop, the best feedback is going to be the customer. It's going to be the one consuming, right? Because they're going to let you know, hey man, you're full of noise. You just word salad right now. Everything you're saying has no points and no solutions. You're just trying to take up time and space. As a leader in your field, and sharing the load of responsibility of trying to find these solutions with your clients, right? You're helping them navigate to the light, not go deeper into the shadows. Mm-hmm. How do you keep yourself poised, understanding that the pressure might be there, but it's good pressure because I'm passionate about helping them, not the other way around of getting them just noise.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a couple of ways that I think about life. One is like, we're made to work. Right? That's biblical in nature, right? We were designed to work. So you see that people find fulfillment in their work, and I find fulfillment in mine. So I embrace that and say, it's supposed to be hard, right? Because anyone who's done something hard, it's so much more rewarding on the end. Then you say, that was pretty easy, like less reward.
Yeah.
So you got to have that mindset. Like, if I'm going to do something hard, it's going to be worth it, right? And that's kind of a part of the thing. I'm made to work hard. Good things come out of hard work. And I'm not saying just working harder. It's a challenge. It's absolutely a challenge, right? But this stuff that we do, this lean thinking, lean manufacture, right? It's simple, but it's not easy, right? Because to your point, customer is going to be the ultimate litmus test, right? We can think we're doing great. Our accountants might even say we're doing great. But the test is going to be like, are we delivering better for the client? And so that's where we begin our engagements with, is kind of up front of like vision, mission, like what's our client base, who are we serving, how are we doing there, so that we know of kind of establishing the that compass bearing of where we're supposed to be going. And that alone takes a lot of the noise, right? When you elevate the focus, when you elevate the mission, like a lot of the noise just drops away.
Strategy is everything. When we are developing ourselves, when we become more disciplined, I like to tell people that when you surround yourself with better and smarter people, they challenge you and they put you on blast when you're not meeting those expected, milestones, if you will. And you need that. You need iron sharpens iron. You need those type of people in your life that push you to go to the next level. So my last question as I landed the airplane is that when you're working with clients, what separates those who are able to sustain their improvements and success versus those who continue to go down those old paths?
Mm-hmm. I back to something we talked about earlier. I think what really separates them is, do they have the belief and the trust in the system? And so if I do, I'm going to use the tool. So there's this really interesting relationship. You've heard the phrase like chicken, what came first, the chicken or the egg? So this chicken and egg relationship between the tools that we use and the mindset or the thinking. And a lot of times we apply a tool to change your behavior, so then your thinking comes along. There's other cases where I need to get you to think differently so that you start using the tools, right? And it depends a little bit on the individual and a little bit on the scenario. But that's part of where the experience and understanding your client, right? Not just cookie cutter, like stamping out engagements of like, well, this is the way we engage. We start with these tools and this is how we do it, of really understanding, meeting them where they're at. That's the biggest thing that I see, and whether or not it's going to sustain is like, do you have leadership that believes in, trusts in this new way of running the business? Then if I believe in it, my actions are going to follow those beliefs. And then if my actions are following that, then over time, those actions repeated over time just become habits. And before you know it, that's just how this company works. It's not something else.
That's great. Well, flat out time. Once again, listen to Army Focus Radio, watching us online, talking to our guest today, Chad. Man, it's been great having you on. Go to his website, breathergroup.com. Again, that's breathergroup.com. I can't believe that this time just went out the window like it always does when we have great conversations. So I want to say thanks for giving some great insight and great action steps. If you have one last thing you want to say to our listeners, our viewers, what would that be?
Yeah, I would say nothing changes if you don't change something, right? And the journey of 1,000 miles start with a single step. It's like you just have to start. You're not going to get it perfect. You just got to start.
Once again, Chad Bareither, I think that's the correct way. I can't say Breather throughout the show. But Bareither, go to his amazing website, bareithergroup.com. Like always, want to say to you, Chad, thank you for your time, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.